Well, howdy there, pipe pals and gals. I think the camera's right over there. Okay. So I do this. Okay. All right. So let me welcome you to this video. This is not working. Okay, I guess that's almost gone out. Okay, let me do this here. I'm gonna do something here that I haven't done in a while. Okay, let me try this. I'm gonna try an actual match. Okay, maybe there's just not enough oxygen up here. Okay, I'm gonna light a candle here, just so I have another way to light these matches that have kind of gone out. Okay, all right, okay. Okay. All right, well, happy New Year's Eve. You heard that right. Happy New Year's Eve. So Saturday night will be New Year's Eve. And Friday, tomorrow, will be New Year's Eve, like Christmas Eve. And then tonight, it is New Year's Eve. So trying to get a real early start of the new year. And in this pipe, in this calabash, I am smoking. What am I smoking? Oh yeah, some Northwoods. Okay. And that's good from Matthew. Thank you, Matthew, again. Also, I'm drinking out of my new snowman mug. Not bad. I was thinking about cracking open. I found this new non-alcoholic brew. It's called Oatmeal Stout. I guess it's obviously made from oatmeal, and it looks an awful lot like a real stout, dark brew, but it's non-alcoholic. I had one last night, and in some ways it's kind of like a non-alcoholic Guinness, I guess you'd call it that. It wasn't too bad, but I think I'm going to have to acquire a taste for it because it has a lot of real harsh vegetable taste to it in the beginning. So it wasn't bad. It didn't have a bad finish. It actually had more of a nice dark stout kind of a, but the front taste of it was a little off-putting. And but I saw all these new non-alcoholic kind of things, and I thought, well, maybe I'll give it a try just to see what it's like. But haven't really found haven't found a lot of real affection for them. So that's why I'm still drinking my coffee here. So anyway, so happy New Year's Eve to all of you out there. Okay. So first off, got the old Swan matches because I knew my little old boy was going out, so I'm afraid that I need to recharge it. So I do have some backup in this form here to light my pipe. So wanted to do a little shout outs to first of all, again, the Old Gentleman Scholar for his Christmas card this year, The Gap. Thank you, Gary. And then also I got a card from another Canadian, and that's Richard T. Richard T. So, Richard T., if you're out there, thank you for your thoughtful Christmas card. Really appreciate that. Yeah, nice hearing from you. So, first of all, I'm making this video on my iPad Mini 6. And for a lot of people, that probably doesn't mean a whole lot. But as most of you know, my avocation is into kind of tech. And I consider myself an Apple sheep or an Apple consumer. But I am kind of backing away just a little bit this year. Last year, I kind of started, acquiring all the M1 class processors, and I kind of accomplished all that. So I'm kind of backing off, I think, this year because as much as I do enjoy new technology, a lot of it just doesn't really seem to be as cutting edge as I would like it to be. And that's one of the things that I've been trying to do for years is streamline my video processing, my video editing software. And although I've been using Final Cut Pro for the last 14, 15 years, 16 years, I guess, I've always wanted just to be able to make it a lot more simpler. So, I've been wanting to play around, and every now and then I take a little bit of a departure. And the only reason why I love Final Cut Pro. Don't get me wrong; it's like my big video editing toy box. And the thing I love about Final Cut Pro is there's lots of plugins now you can get, and just has lots of really fun features that you can play with. But basically, when I make a video for my little pipe channel here, I'm really not doing a whole lot unless I'm really going to pull out all the stops and do something really fun. And this video is more of a kind of an old lang syne. And so I just thought I don't need to do a lot of fancy video editing. And I'd like to get this video recorded and then uploaded to YouTube tonight. So that way I definitely have my little, even though I'm kind of making it, right there on that cusp of the old year and the new year, kind of looking at just kind of my past year, a retrospective, if you will. And so anyway, I just wanted to, I thought, well, let me try and, I've been seeing a lot of end of the year reviews on Apple products. The people that, the Apple products, a lot of people feel that are really worth your while. And I did get the iPad Mini 6 there. When did I get this? I guess last January or last March, I guess. I can't remember. I think it came out last March. So I probably got it in April or June. And I do use it every day. Now, I mostly use it for audiobooks and listening to, I like listening to lots of interesting nature sounds when I go to sleep. I like listening to little rain showers or rainstorms and thunder and lightning. I like to listen to, even though I live up here in the hinterland here, I like to listen to snow blizzardy weather, you know, and sometimes we got snow last night or this morning and got a little bit of snow. We might get a little bit more later tonight. I don't know. So this isn't bad. This is not a bad pairing. My Christmas snowman cup. Maybe I'll make this a video thumbnail. There we go. Yeah. Okay. That might be a good thumbnail. I don't know if I can even make thumbnails. Maybe I can. I don't know. But anyway, so I just feel that a lot of the technology that I have, I just don't really utilize it. I mean, not to its fullest potential. And that's always something that bugs me. It's like, this can do a lot more than I'm letting it do. So I thought, why, I usually use my phone, then I transfer it, using AirDrop to my big Mac, my Mac Studio, and then I process it in Final Cut Pro, and then I add all my little special effects and all that fun stuff. But I just thought, you know what, let's just keep it simple tonight, and we're going to do a little Auld Lang Syne retrospective, and just talk a little bit about, the past year, tell you a little bit of personal stuff, and then I'm going to tell you stuff that I've been kind of intrigued with, and then kind of where maybe this new year, 2023, hard to believe, where will it go? Who knows? Okay. Now, one of the sad things about where I currently live, I'm going to try this here. I got this candle so I could relight my little matchsticks, or my slightly used Swan Vestas. That seemed to work. Trying to find new ways to do old things, because I'm old, as you can tell. So, so let's see here. This past year, some good things and some bad things. Let me try that again. We all experience good and bad in the new year and as the year unfolds. So I guess I'll start with the bad. Since October 1st, I've been really coming down with colds. I even got COVID the second time. Okay, now that color, I'm gonna cut my finger there. The color is interesting there. So I'm still getting over that. I guess they call it the RSV or whatever. It's a respiratory thing. It's not as bad as it was a couple weeks ago, but I still got some lingering congestion. But I'm okay. I think I'm okay. So I've been endeavoring to walk 5 to 6 miles every day, and for the most part I've been pretty consistent with that. Now there have been a couple times in the last couple months where I took a few days off only because I was sick. And I'm not making excuses, it's just the way it is. But this last month, today's the 29th, I've been closing my rings every single day to include Sunday. Now Sunday was usually a day of rest, and I just said, you know what, one day off is going to be okay. And I think it is, but I think the very first time I got an Apple Watch about 5-6 years ago, I actually did one full month every day. And then after that, I just let it go to 6 days a week and then gave myself Sunday off. So I'm probably going to do that again. I might try and I'll close up December, hopefully with a perfect record, and maybe even go into January and try and do 2 back-to-back full months. But after that, I'll go back to just every day, every 6 days. We'll see. So one of the good things that I have to celebrate is that my lower back, who usually goes into really bad cramps and lower back pain, and it's kind of a little bit debilitating, a little bit crippling at times. This seems to have healed up somehow. I don't know why, don't know how. I'm just grateful for that. As I tell most people, I do wake up, thankfully, on New Year's Day with no hangovers. I'm not drunk. I'm not sick with hangovers or going through withdrawals or anything like that. For the most part, that's the gift that I've been giving myself now for over a decade, and I'm looking forward to waking up New Year's Day doing really well. Now, in the last few years, for some reason, especially I remember about 4 or 5 years ago, I woke up, I think it was about 4 years ago, 4 years ago. I woke up on New Year's Eve, that would be tomorrow, with, I don't know where it came from, but it was like I had this reservoir of just pure energy. Oh, it was great. Man, I said, you know what? I'm going to put away all my Christmas early. That way it's not going to be looking at me, Monday morning, January 2nd. It's going to be ready. Ready to clean slate and everything, ready to go. So I'm just thinking, you know what? That's a very wise thing to do. Now, the thing is, this year, for some reason, Christmas, it's just not. Christmas just kind of came and went. I mean, the season, not just the day, the season. I think last year we had, for New Year's Day is Mary, the Mother of God. Let me get a little sip here. And then the next week was, I think, Holy Family. And then the week after that was Epiphany. And then finally, Baptism of the Lord. For this year, they're all conflated within about 7 to 10 days or 7 to 9 days, all those major feasts. They're not spread out every Sunday. Again, my memory may be failing me, but I don't think so. So Christmas is the Christmas season is going to be over. I think December 11th. We do the baptism of the Lord, and bang, we're right back into ordinary time. So it's not a long season. So anyway, it is what it is. So let's see what I was going to say. Just looking back in the past year, health-wise, also I have a little physical on the 16th of January. I'm looking forward to getting a new blood chem panel and seeing how those readings are. I would really love to do another 1 month juice fast. And I'm really kind of looking forward to doing that. Just kind of giving myself a real a rest on eating rich food and all that kind of stuff. But looking forward to doing that. I was going to say, retrospective wise, I don't live in a place where I can buy. There's not like a local pipe shop or tobacco shop that sells and caters to traditional pipe smokers. And so that's why I'd probably, if I do order anything in the new year, it'll all be online from like Pipes and Cigars or Boswell's or some of those other online places where you can order your pipe tobacco and maybe pipes. Haven't bought any new pipes in the last couple of years, I don't think. Don't really need any new pipes. But that doesn't mean I might be tempted. I still want to get a dress pipe one of these days. Hopefully a Dunhill dress pipe. That's what I'd love to have, But again, I'm not rushing out to get anything like that. I mean, maybe I will someday. I don't know. But anyway, so I, as far as personal things go, those are the things that I'm grateful for. I hope you're grateful. You can find good things to be grateful for, even though maybe you've gone through some sickness or health issues or whatever. Maybe you're getting better. Sure hope you are, and hope you'll have a great 2023 health-wise. Some of the things that I found intriguing this year, okay? I found intriguing, and I just thought I'd just kind of touch on them because for some reason I found these things to be kind of fascinating for me. Don't ask me why. But okay, I'm going to refer to something kind of cryptically because every time I get now a little too intense, I get a little bit in trouble, and so. But here goes. I'm very interested in the TG movement. I think most people can figure out what I'm talking about, especially as it relates to one Dylan Mulvaney, and he is a very interesting character. Let me just say that. A lot of people are trying to figure out this Dylan Mulvaney. He is an actor, and he's now really his fame has shot up with his I think it's called The Days of Girlhood. That's not working. Come on, you can do it. Okay. And now, as an entertainer, I will say this, might shock some of you. He's actually quite watchable because he is funny. I gotta tell you, he is funny. Even though, a lot of people think he's for real. And maybe he is, I don't know. But here's what I think, and I could be totally wrong. I have a feeling that once he kind of plays through this role, this character that he's playing online, he will probably take a small little hiatus and he'll come back as a guy and he will write a book about it. And he will probably make lots of money by selling this book and maybe even do a movie, who knows. But I think he's a great troll. And I just think it's just fascinating that, he does this again. I know some people say, oh no, he's the real deal and he's into the TG movement and, God bless him. But deep down in my soul, I kind of think that there's a little bit of a winky when you see him do his skits. And I just think that that's really what is going on. He's just doing a major troll. He's having fun, no doubt about it. He's raking in lots of money. But who knows? We'll see. But I have a feeling that he's going to, like, one day it'll all be over and he's going to say, ta-da, I was having fun. Nothing wrong in having fun. And in fact, one of my favorite Bing Crosby movies is him and Danny Kaye doing this kind of, I guess before it was really drag or whatever, but female impersonation thing. There's always been female guys doing female impersonations, and it's always been a gag. It's always been a ha ha ha, okay? Anyway, but getting on a more serious note about the TG thing, I personally believe that the problem is that a lot of young people and a lot of people who are, maybe I'll try to be kind, young at heart or young in their soul, even though they're like 55 or 60, they just never found themselves. And when they see Dylan and some of these other guys that are getting all this notoriety and attention, see, I personally believe that in about 4 years, maybe even less, this whole TG thing is going to tank. I mean, it can only go so far. And the problem is that a lot of the serious dark side stuff to it is really disturbing, whether it's the hormones and the hormone blockers and the cross-sex drugs and all this stuff and the surgeries. I just think that there's going to be probably a lot of people. There's already people that are saying they don't work, and a lot of these people are reporting that, it's just heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. And I don't know where it can go from here, except it just peters out, no pun intended. But that's the way I see it kind of playing out, because you can only go so far, you know. Now the next thing could be the big, maybe trans species thing. That probably might take off. I don't know. And people will get surgeries to look like a dog or a cat or, you know, a mouse or whatever. I'm going to try and relight this pipe with my stick here. Hopefully this will work. So I don't know where it's all going to go. Let me see. Was that going to... That may not burn. There we go. I didn't pack this really well. So Gary, you're not the only one, okay? Poor Gary, he's always struggling. And I'm struggling tonight too with this. Anyway, I didn't pack it full because I didn't know how long I was going to make this video. So that's my thoughts on the Tichy phenomenon. Now, last year I got really intrigued with some documentaries, and I just got through watching one more. There was 3 of them that I was really fascinated with. Still am. And one of them started, I remember it was just last year in January, I was really intrigued by Elizabeth Holmes and Theranos. I mean, in many ways, well, let me back up here. I want to talk about Elizabeth. Well, I'll talk about Elizabeth Holmes and Theranos real quick. Because the promise was incredible. Now, I've been told, from watching other videos about the subject, that her promise of a drop of blood that you like get from a pinprick could do a pretty much basic, complete diagnostic blood chem panel. I mean, that is incredible. That's phenomenal. And if it had been true, you know, it would have been awesome. Now, supposedly there's another company, there's another couple groups of scientists that say, yeah, we actually can do that now. We just have to now try to manufacture it on a larger scale. Now, again, I don't know. But apparently she kind of opened the door to this whole technology, although she, at the time, really wasn't able to really deliver in real time, in real life. Now, it's sort of like the Studebaker story, you know, Preston Tucker. You know, we'll show you what our idea is, but it really wasn't a functioning prototype. It was just a car that looked pretty awesome and new agey, but it really just was built with using internally a lot of old parts. And essentially, that's kind of what Elizabeth Holmes did in her company. And I think on one level, she was sincere, but she wasn't being sincerely honest in the fact that her goal, her vision, her dream was, yeah, she really wanted to accomplish this. And she thought, well, all I need is just a little bit more time, maybe a little more funding, and I'll be able to bring this to the world. So, but she's an intriguing figure, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that in just a minute. Another intriguing guy that I don't know why was really intrigued by was Michael Peterson, not Jordan P. Peterson. Of course, I love Jordan B. Peterson for so many reasons, but Michael Peterson, the guy who it was kind of dramatized in the I guess it was HBO or Netflix or whatever. Actually, there was a actual documentary with him, and then they had a movie about him about 9 months later called The Staircase. And basically his wife, you know, lost her life by, you know, apparently falling down the staircase. Now, it was a big murder over a course of like 10 years, I guess, maybe. And the guy went back to trial, back and forth. I think he actually did maybe 7 years in prison, and then he got exonerated, and I guess he's out now. But anyway, what a fascinating story that was. And again, it's sort of like, well, did he do it or did he not do it? See? And you look at the forensic evidence, and the forensic evidence kind of says, well, technically he didn't do it. But then what happened? And then there were lots of other theories. There was an owl theory, and that probably, I'm kind of thinking that owl theory is probably the best explanation of how his wife Kathleen died, because they found small little owl feathers in her scalp. So apparently she went outside and was rearranging some Christmas decorations on the lawn at night. And they do have these barn owls at that time. It was a mating time for the barn owls. And apparently one of them attacked her. And, you see these talon marks on her head, And so she apparently went inside after she'd been attacked, and she was bleeding profusely. So again, I don't know. That was the only theory that seemed to make sense. Yeah, could he have bludgeoned her to death? The only problem was they didn't have the murder weapon. There was no murder weapon. They thought they found the murder weapon. They only find out that it wasn't the murder weapon at all. There was no, and so it was just there was not the forensic evidence to really tie the guy to doing it. They tried to say, well, she found out that he was having these he was texting men and sending pics, I guess, and nothing. Apparently, he never really met up with them in real life, but he was having these online kind of dalliances, and so she apparently found out, and she went into a rage, and that's why he beat her up and killed her. Possible, probable, but again, when you look at the forensic evidence, it didn't add up. I mean, yeah, the guy looked guilty as sin. I got to say that was the thing. He looked extremely nervous. Now, again, if I was being accused of something I didn't do, I'd probably look pretty nervous, And that's the thing. A lot of the people that they show on these videos and these documentaries, some of them are just, it's bizarre how it all, because you think, well, a person that's going to look guilty will be guilty, and vice versa, and so anyway, that was a very intriguing documentary, The Staircase. And so anyway, tragedy. It's all tragedy. A lot of these things are all just really sad, really calamity follies, very sad. And then the last one that I've been kind of following is called the documentary series called The Vow. And when I hear that, I think religious vows. Nuns take vows, priests take vows, religious orders, monks take vows, And so I thought, well, what is that about? And so I was intrigued just by the name, and then it turned out it was this cult by this guy named Keith Raniere and his sidekick Nancy Stoltzman. And apparently they had this thing called NXIVM, and it was basically a self-improvement kind of a group of people who, I think it was called ESP, executive sales program or something like that, or executive something. But ESP stood for executive. I'll have to figure it out later. Anyway, maybe I'll put a little thing here. Tell you what it was. Executive sales program or something like that. Executive senior program. Anyway, but the thing is that they basically, okay, the bottom line was the guy was, he was basically, master manipulator in many ways, where he essentially was, he kind of created this little harem of women that was servicing him at the end of this whole thing. I guess, well, in the early beginning thing, I think it was all pretty legit. And the guy in the beginning, he kind of looks kind of nerdy, and he's kind of a little plump in the beginning. Apparently he's a genius, apparently. They show him playing piano and doing black belt karate and, and quoting all these, great authors and scientific books and philosophy books. Anyway, so anyway, he's very, very, this is the thing. He doesn't really look all that charismatic. He's kind of a squat little short guy. He's not really a dashing. He doesn't really cut a dashing figure. But yet he had this following. It kind of like Elizabeth Holmes. Although Elizabeth Holmes was kind of a striking looking woman, she was kind of an odd looking woman. These big well, not bulging eyes, but these big, wide eyes, and she hardly would ever blink, they said. And it's just like, well, okay. And she tried to emulate Steve Jobs. So you see these guys and gals that are kind of cult figures, because at the end of the day, I think Elizabeth Holmes, that's what kind of kept her company, her organization going, was the fact that she was able to attract people to her vision, which is great. Again, she was on the surface, and I think again, she probably sincerely believed what she was trying to do, but the problem was that her vision didn't match her technology. Her technology was kind of lagging, obviously, and what they did was they had to kind of fake it. And she thought, well, I'll fake it until I make it, because I'm really close to getting this prototype of this blood analysis box called, what was it called? Well, I guess it's called the Theranos. Anyway, so they were hoping that that was going to become a real thing, but until they got to that point where it was actually a reality, they were doing, I guess they call it intravenous blood draws, traditional blood draws, and running the their quote unquote tests using that, and then saying, see, it works, And I guess what they would, anyway, the bottom line was that it was like this cult personality holding things together for a vision, okay? And then this Keith Raniere guy, he was kind of a naughty boy. He was basically, now the thing, here's the problem that I have with this. Now they gave him 120 years for sex trafficking and having, I guess, sex or with an underage minor, which I think is interesting, very interesting. And so he was having, this group of ladies that took a vow. This is why that's called the vow. They would take a vow that they were going to, kind of like this, literally kind of like a blood vow, that they were all together in this group until death, until they were, until death do you part. And it was a very, very manipulative group. They basically made sure that they had the goods on you. So if you did back out and tried to go to the press or the police, then they would say, well, guess what? We got compromising evidence against you too. So if you squeal on us or you rat us out, you're going down with us, So think twice before you try to back out of this thing. So anyway, he did some pretty bizarre and crazy things. He didn't kill anybody, but he certainly he did some pretty deplorable things to some of these ladies. But in the beginning, apparently, what he and his group, NXIVM, I guess it's called. I think there's also a heartburn medicine called NXIVM or something like that. Anyway, but apparently they had this group of, they had these seminars. Of course, you had to pay a lot of money to go to these seminars. But it seemed like they were helping people cope with a lot of their phobias. And they were having real breakthroughs. People would come in, maybe they had a fear of flying, or maybe they had a fear of driving cross country, or they had a fear of speaking in public. And anyway, but they would help these people work through their phobias and their compulsions, and they were getting real results. That's a win in the tick in the win category, But the one that I thought was, okay, this one here was really amazing. And I don't know, they never indicated that it was faked, or it was all staged. It's sort of like, the faith healers. They go out there and somebody, couldn't walk, they'd come up in a wheelchair and they pray over and they get out of the wheelchair and they walk, or they throw away their crutches, and you think, oh my gosh, that person just got healed. Now, I'm not saying that that doesn't happen. I believe I've actually experienced a real life healing. My best friend, his mom had stage 4 cancer, and I remember the night they prayed over her, and she lived another 35 years. So I'm not saying, I do believe that's possible. But anyway, the one thing that these people did do, and again, unless they come back with another documentary saying, well, that was faked, then I'll say, well, okay, the whole thing's a bunch of rubbish. But they had these Tourette's people who have suffered from Tourette's, and there's like 3 or 4 of them, and they absolutely were healed of their Tourette syndrome. It was incredible. I mean, like, okay, now, can you fake Tourette's? Yes, you could. But apparently, they're showing these people in real life, before and after, with their families. Again, I'm not saying the families give more credence, okay? As obviously the families are like, hey, In fact, this one dad's trying to say, okay, you got to kind of maybe take the bad with the good. He was saying, you were healed of Tourette's. And the gal goes, yeah, I know, but you didn't know the other things he was doing behind the scenes. And the dad goes, okay, I can understand you're angry, talking to his daughter who had Tourette's. This guy was a mess. And now she just sits there and talks normal like you and me. And she had some other medical issues that she was taking lots of medicines for, and she got off all the meds. Wow. So yeah, she recognizes, well, I got, that was a positive of this being in this group. But the negative side was him trying to seduce me, And I guess, I don't know if she gave in or not. I don't know that part of it. But anyway, apparently other ones did get seduced. He seduced them, and he had them kind of like sex slaves, to some extent. Not super. Just hoping I didn't. I kind of felt like a little bit of dampness on my foot, and I'm thinking, hopefully I don't have a leak in the roof here. Okay, I don't see anything. So, but anyway, I was really intrigued. It's like a 6-hour, 7-hour. The second part is, just a 7-hour documentary, and they show the first. I saw the first half about 6 months ago, and they start talking about their programs, and how they help these professional people, try to get liberated from their dysfunctions and their compulsions and their phobias. And apparently they were, all of them, even the ones that left, said, it's kind of sad because the group really helped me, So anyway, this Keith Raniere guy, he apparently was this cult figure. And I guess this thing was, and one guy articulated it, because I was sitting there thinking, this is really problematic, because you see the good things. And if these people were already set free, especially the Tourette's people, and people getting off medications and stuff, those are all powerful things. I think we'd all agree on that. And yet the guy who's the leader, I guess they called him Vanguard. He had a special name, Vanguard. And apparently, but he had a weakness. He had a sinister side. And I kind of think that the reality is that a lot of us, we're all probably prone, if we've Jordan Peterson was and this is where I kind of get back into a little bit of Jordan Peterson here. He's talked an awful lot about, the Holocaust and certainly the horrors of the Holocaust, but then he gets a little bit more uncomfortable, and he says, well, one day it dawned on me that under the right conditions, maybe I could have been a Nazi concentration guard and treated people with that kind of indifference and cruelty that those guards did. And so it was like, he said it was a real revelation, like, hey, I'm not just the innocent one, because everybody wants to say, well, I would have tried to save them or rescue them. I never would have. And he says, well, the reality is that most people, most of them would say nothing. It's like, I'm not saying anything, okay. And that's pretty much what happened. They turned a blind eye and a deaf ear to all the suffering that was going on, and I don't see anything, I don't hear anything, I'm not going to say anything, right? He goes, the majority of people pretty much did that, okay? Kind of like, well, maybe it'll go away, maybe it'll all come to an end soon, and it didn't. And but he said that being aware that we all have the potential, providing the circumstances kind of, planets line up just right, we could find ourselves, very easily slipping into being a concentration camp guard. I know we don't like to think that way. We like to, I just perish the thought. I would never do that. Well, and anyway, so seeing this Keith guy or Elizabeth Holmes, being very duplicitous, both of them very duplicitous characters, where they were injuring people. Elizabeth Holmes was basically, hers was just as bad, because a lot of people, what was happening is that when they tried to run the blood test on just the new Theranos pinprick, the range of blood test results were all over the place. They were inaccurate. I think one lady said she got a call and they said, "Oh, you got bad news for you. You got stage 4 breast cancer or something," And she goes, "What?" And she talked about how that devastated her, only to find out later when she went to another doctor to get another traditional blood test, you were fine. Supposing though the Theranos said, "Oh yeah, you're fine," and it turns out you did have stage 4, and now you don't know about it until months later. So she was playing with people's lives, literally, on a blood test. So, although I know her vision was like, hey, I'm trying to bring some great new technology that's going to help the world, and great vision. But when it came down to it, when the rubber meets the road, she didn't have the technology. She didn't have that machine. And the problem was that there was no way she was even going to. A lot of people said that machine was years, maybe decades away from it. One day it'll be a real reality, but right now the technology is just not there. Now, apparently there is another medical group, a diagnostic group, or a research group that says they actually can do that, but they haven't, put it into the next stage of where they're going to produce the machinery that can do that, accurately do those types of blood tests yet. But they are able from a blood finger prick to do some basic diagnostics, blood panel diagnostics on a small blood drop or a couple of blood drops. So yeah, it's possible now, but again, to advance it to the next stage where it could actually be a consumer a product in, like, say, a pharmacy, that's probably years down the road, maybe 5 years down the road. Yeah, maybe. But again, it was just fascinating to me, I guess. And the fact is that, going back to this Keith Raniere guy, here he is with his Nexium group, with his tutorials and seminars, helping people get over their compulsions and phobias and all that stuff, which is all good stuff, And then, like I said, helping those Tourette's patients, wow, that was incredible. And I have to say that was the thing that made me think, well, wait a minute. And in the beginning, they kind of drew it. I think they were, I guess that what they were trying to do is, build a really strong case for the viewer to say, wow, this guy really was a dirtbag. But the problem was that, as they would go along, then they'd find other people that, even though the people that were disillusioned and angry and left the group, very much wounded and had to deal with their own baggage, their own issues of being in a cult. But there were other people that said, hey, wait a minute, this group, this philosophy, this training, it really helped me. And in fact, to be honest, they even the people that left and that were hurt, even they would say, well, the basic group itself and the basic teachings were good. They did help me, you know. So it's a really difficult thing, and I know I see that even in my line of work. You know, we've had padres who have done horrible things to minors and young adults, and even adults. But the thing is that you know, I knew this old priest. He was an old Monsignor. I won't mention his name, but yeah, he was that kind of a guy too. He kind of had this. He was a big, imposing guy. He literally looked like Marlon Brando in The Godfather. I kid you not. He acted that way. He was actually from Brooklyn, of all places, and he was a very powerful individual. He came across. He was like 6'2", and he was scary. He was scary, and but the thing was, he did a lot of good things too. He built this wonderful, magnificent parish. He would, you know, I'd be walking down the streets of Sacramento, and he'd see a homeless guy, and he'd say, "Hey, buddy, when was the last time you had something to eat?" And he'd go buy him a dinner or a lunch. He'd take him to the Goodwill and get him some clean clothes, and I mean, he would do a lot of good things. But he also had that weakness where he would just be, for every one good thing he did two destructive things. And basically, he was just a very angry, resentful person, and he would just go into a rage over certain things. And it was really hard to be around him. I mean, because one minute, yeah, he could be a really nice guy, be even almost jovial and even kind of fun to be around when he was in a good mood. But when he went dark, when he went apoplectic, you know, it's like Mount Vesuvius. Get the heck out of the way, because this guy is not taking any prisoners. He's gonna, wow. And it was just sad, because it was like, man, you do so many good things, and yet you do so many destructive things. And so, yeah, I think a lot of us, if we're honest, don't like to think about that, but we can have that potential to be doing both good and bad at the same time. Because people were saying, I can't figure this guy out. Is he a villain, or is he a saint? And well, the truth was, he was both at the same time. And later, towards the very end, they really then kind of, I wouldn't say they maybe stacked the deck a little too much, but they really pretty much bring out the fact that he was a pretty, not just duplicitous, but he was deplorable. He really was a deplorable. He just, the things that he said to some of these women and the things that he did, it was just, dude, what are you thinking? What are you thinking? And it was just really sad, because he, you know, if he had just literally kept it in his pants, you know, and said, you know, it was kind of funny because, you know, he's talking about these compulsions and these obsessions, and, you know, how he's telling people, all these other people, that you can get over these things and you can be successful and victorious, and, you know, and you're going to be the best version of yourself. And people are like going, wow, you know, and then they would actually go through some of these techniques, and they literally would get set free from some of the debilitating phobias and compulsions that they had. And they're like, this is tremendous, this is fantastic. And yet this guy, apparently he wasn't there the day he taught those classes, I guess, on how to get yourself free from your compulsions, I guess. And but he gave in to his demons, and he unfortunately now he's looking at 120 years. Don't know if he's going to get a parole date anytime soon. Probably 50, and he's already, I think he's 50 years old now. I think he started a lot of this stuff when he was in his late 20s, early 30s. So he had about 20 years putting together a company, a very successful company, I might add. And again, a company that did a lot of good things. In fact, the lady who was kind of his main teacher, who was like kind of, and I think she was being honest. I don't think she was, you know, I think she just loved the fact that, you know, she felt that this curriculum that they were teaching actually was making a huge difference in the lives of all these people. She said, we had like 17,000 graduates from our programs. And yet it only took a small handful of people to pull back the underbelly and see the dark side and say, hey, this is all bad. And she just, she was like towards the very end, I think she is doing 3 years with a little bit of probation. But, she says, I honestly didn't really know what was really going on. I did know that he had a problem with the sex thing, and I would pretty much bail him out when he would get into some hot water, and we would kind of smooth it over and move on. But she says the thing that I loved was seeing all these people responding positively to our training and our program and our philosophy. And so she was, what was her, the song in her soul was being able to teach these principles and see people get kind of a brand new lease on life and become more self-actualized, I guess, But, the guy had his demons, and unfortunately, instead of trying to deal with them, he allowed them to pretty much consume his carnal appetites, and it in the end, it destroyed him, destroyed his company, destroyed the good things that he had done. So anyway, I've been kind of intrigued by all that, especially these documentaries. I guess the last one, I'm almost done here, I guess. I did see just the other night, and I never was a big follower of the JonBenét Ramsey saga, but because I always thought that, the little girl was murdered by some stranger, and, case closed. Well, it turns out that those of you probably know more about it than I do. Actually, that's not quite the case. There's more to it than that, and again, another sad thing. But you look at the evidence, and it's like, boy, I tell you what, just it's hard to. That's another Gordian knot. Again, I'll just leave it at that. So, well, anyway, there are pipe pals and gals. See if I can relight this pipe with my little matches stick. Good old matches. 860. God bless you, John, wherever you are. See if I can get this here. Well, I think the pipe's pretty much gone out, pipe pal, so that's probably a good excuse now to bring this video to a close. So again, let me wish you a very happy new year, and light up your world in the new year and light up your pipe. Okay, we'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.